I'm going to give you the fun way that I've been doing Plague Star, and I'm going to give you a bunch of builds and everything that you can go after. They will be generalized builds, so you can really use them for anything whenever you want, for the most part. So first, if you've never done Plague Star, we're going to go into the dojo's biolab, and we're going to stop by and grab an infested catalyst. Grab this blueprint, and you're ultimately going to want to then go back to your orbiter and research it in your foundry. Once you're in your foundry, you can go all the way to the right where the miscellaneous tab is, and you could find the 5 times infested catalyst blueprint that you just picked up. And also, you're going to need the 5 times Eidolon Phylaxis if you're looking to do this on Steel Path. When you travel to Cetus on planet Earth, fast travel to Nakak over here and go to Operational Supply. Do the Plague Star, get your tiers up as to the highest level. Over here, you're going to find right here, the Eidolon Phylaxis times 5 blueprint. That's where you can pick that up. Also, recommendations for you guys to get would be possibly the Cetus Wisp, as they're only 750, although you could just farm these out. I already have a video on how to do that on the channel. Most people that have already played this for the years on end have been grinding this out for forma, which I've been doing on stream, and you guys can come down and I can grind this out with you as well, so you can get extra forma. You're gonna have to have basically everything I'm going over done first, though. So we have the Exodia Contagion, and we have Exodia Epidemic. You are gonna want to pick these up, as they are good. And the Plague Crypt Path right here and the Kiwar, these are the ones that give mastery rank, these two. So you're gonna want to pick these up at least for mastery rank. On top of that, we have the Ghoul Saw blueprint and the rest of its parts. This is just mastery rank, so you really only want to pick this up for mastery rank. For the most part, it's not a weapon I feel like most people really care too much about. And if you don't have them already, you could also grab the Ether Daggers blueprint and the Snipetron blueprint. If you do get confused as far as like, oh, Neil, which were the ones that you mentioned in the video, you can go here, checking your profile, go to the melee weapons tab. If we sort by name, we could scroll down to where it says Plague. So we have Plague Kiwar here and Plague Crypt Path. So now you know which two you want to pick up from Nakak for the mastery rank. When you're in Cetus, you want to fast travel to Kanzu over here, and the last thing in the world you want to pick is Infestation, because this will leave you stuck in what feels like 10 minutes of him non-stop rambling, and you won't be able to get out of it. So just go to bounties instead, and then click on whichever Plague Star event you're looking to do. When you click on this Plague Star event and you get out into Cetus, you can do a little trick to interrupt his talking to speed this up, which will ultimately just click on Nightwave right here and then back out of Nightwave. And that will shut up all of the in-game dialogue if you're tired of hearing it because you're grinding this out over and over again, and that will ultimately speed it up just a little bit for you. Once you get into Cetus, the first part that you have to do is getting to the toxin container. And it looks just like this, and all you're doing is just going to the location and grabbing the container, and that's it. Part 1 is complete. From there, part 2 will start. You'll have to go to that location, and you'll have to open up this big Grenier container, and on the inside is a console that you're going to put this toxin injector into. From this point forward, you're really just fending off enemies, and you can do that any way that you want. It's really not that hard even on Steel Path, especially if you have a Necromech, but even if you don't, you'll probably have other people in your team you'll see using it, or even just people that are in your team. You're going to be totally fine. Once the timer is up, grab the elixir from the console and take it to the drone that is now marked in part 3. Once you hit this part, you can speed this up as a vault, which I think is a little bit more effective now than we used to use like a teleport Loki. As you can see, this drone is going really, really fast because we have a vault with an enormous amount of speed. I'll throw the build on screen right now. And now for the final part with the Hematite. This part can actually be really easy even on Steel Path. So I'm going to show you all of the loadout that I'm using and the different reasons for using this loadout. The first part is Titania. Why Titania? Because I, like most of you guys, do not care that every time there's a new event out, I have to go farm one specific weapon because everyone says that's what's meta, and I have to make it super powerful, and I have to blow all this forma and put all this extra time in. So F that, I'm not doing that. What we are doing, though, is I'm going to use a build that I already use for Deviri. This is my #1 pick for Steel Path Circuit, is this Titania build. I will pick this 100,000% of the time when this shows up. This build is my favorite thing to use in the circuit, and it is working just beautifully here in the Plains of Eidolon. A lot of the help is also coming from this Eclipse right here, which you can see is a Helmuth ability that I have taken from Mirage and put it on Titania's 3. And the other things that I already use anyway is the Burst in Prime Incarnon here. So I use this generally for other things and basically everything else in the game as well. And I'll just go to the no Riven build right here so you can see what it looks like if you don't have a Riven for this thing. So you can grab this. This works beautifully on just tearing down the heads on the Hematite. Another thing that works really well is the Latum, and here's a Latum build that you guys can use without any Rivens on them if you don't have a Riven for the Latum. And then finally, in between the Hemocytes coming out of the boil, we have the Glaive Prime is what I'm using to basically crowd clear all of the enemies so that we can get the percentage up faster so that another Hemocyte spawns. So I have right here a no Riven build. You guys can use this. And all I'm really doing is heavy attacking with this build. I'm just throwing it at crowds of enemies and I'm exploding it when it gets near them. And that is super speeding up the amount of time, or super reducing the amount of time that it takes for us to get from 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, and then 75 to 99 to get those 4 different Hemocytes to come out of the boil. If you are doing this with a hella fast squad, you should be able to get this done in approximately 10 minutes. And just repeating this over and over again, I'd say is absolutely worth it for the forma, if that's what you guys are after. I've heard a lot of people say that it's not worth doing it, but that's really up to you and how you feel about doing this. I'm just showing you a fun way to play Plague Star in case maybe the reason why you don't like it so much is because all you're getting is meta builds shoved down your face and you just don't feel like playing that game. So there you have it, Operation Plague Star with all the builds you could possibly need and exactly everything you have to do in order to comfortably and happily get through this without having to worry about being crazy meta.